discuss the important issues that Americans are concerned about. This year, healthcare, strong and vibrant economy, and innovative technology ideas. The Congressional Institute is also very involved in congressional reform. We have looked at reform ideas to make the budget process effective and other solutions to strengthen Congress. You can find our research and other information about Congress on our website, congressionalinstitute.org. And it's also a brand new website, so if you want to give us some input on how you like it, I'd love to hear it. So please let us know how we can help you report on congressional operations and reform measures. And now, it's my great and distinct honor to introduce the House Republican Leader, Kevin McCarthy.
Thank you, sir. Please hold your Thank you again. This is our weekly press conference. I brought a couple guests with me today. Our Republican leader in the Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan, who also serves on Judiciary as well, and soon to be one of our newest members and additions to the Republican Conference, who just won in North Carolina, Dan Bishop, for all you congressmen-elect. Press doesn't apply for you.
I knew.
First, I want to start. I want to thank Baltimore for having us back. We've had our conference here, as you know, many times before, and we thank the city for having that. Today and the next couple days, we'll be discussing different policies, looking at from the 21st century, going all the way from continuing our economics, from the strength within rebuilding our military, but also our domestic issues. When it comes to privacy, when it comes to the environment, we'll be doing breakout sessions with a number of members getting together to work on the policies as we move forward. This week was a very interesting week when it came to Washington. I think it's a clear sign, or actually foretelling of what's going to happen for the next 18 months. Let me just walk you through this week. This week we watched two special elections in North Carolina. Both of them won by Republicans. Some of you, I know, write something much different, but I usually ought to analyze this race. In 2018, this race was won by less than 900 votes, and there was questions about whether votes were harvested or not, so they had a new election. Democrats were able to hold the exact same candidate they had before, was able to campaign for 17 months. From a financial point of view, that candidate had all the odds and advantages towards them. We had to come from behind. We had Dan Bishop, who's been representing the area in the State House, come from behind. Not only did he win, he improved by more than 400%. The president made a considerable difference in this race coming in. When you watch the turnout, you watch the movement in numbers, just a week away to what they ended up on Election Day. You watch counties in which the Democrat nominee last time actually carried but lost this time. We improved by 2 percentage points. If you simply add 2 percentage points across, that's 13 more seats with only 6 more to go to win a majority. The difference between being in the minority and the majority is roughly 116,000 votes overall. So I think it's really foretelling of what's happening. Then let's look at what's happening inside Congress themselves. We got a speaker who had a press conference today that refuses to answer questions of what's happening to her chairman and judicial committee because they don't know exactly what's happening. You got a majority leader who I was once last term. The responsibility is to manage the committees. Fundamentally has a different definition of what's happening in the Judiciary Committee than the chairman themselves. I've told you many times before. Chairman Nadler, if he was a chairman on our side of the aisle, the way he handles this committee, we would have removed him from that committee long ago. His inability to run a simple committee, his inability to know and explain what is moving forward. Chairman Nadler, when he campaigned to become chairman, and I'll quote what he said he would be the strongest member to lead an impeachment right after the election. Even though the facts don't play that way, Chairman Nadler continues to try to move that way. We watched a new poll that came out from Democrat voters. Democrat voters know more about the Democrats' investigation than anything legislative they passed. I challenge the country to name me one thing this new Democrat majority has solved. Name me one problem that they've been able to solve. They have an internal battle, which pretty much becomes an internal war. At first, we watched it was just a few new freshmen fighting with the speaker and the ideology of the party itself, and we pretty much found that they won out. Now we find their own committee chairs they cannot manage what's going on, nor do they know what's happening, nor do the members of the committee itself know. This is what the future holds. And that is why today, the next day, and the others will be mapping out a fundamental agenda to show the American public a better path. that we could actually show the ability to continue to grow. When we watch today this economy, the strongest economy we've had in more than 50 years. I'll give you a few statistics. In the last 13 months, hourly wage has gone up at least 3% or higher. For those who are really trying to make sure we raise their wages, we're being able to accomplish that. We're showing a path to do that, not with a mandate from government, but actually an economy that grows. You look at women between the age of 25 and 54, the participation rate in the economy is 76.3%, the highest participation rate we have found in more than 15 years. You see now, we're now joined by our dear friend Doug Collins, the Republican leader when it comes to Judiciary Committee. So first, let me turn to Jim Jordan, our leader when it comes to the Oversight Committee and a member of the Judiciary Committee as well. Jim?
Well, thank you, Kevin. Let me thank Kevin for his leadership, and Doug as well on the committee. And then, of course, congratulate Dan. It was a big night. And Kevin is right. What a contrast between Greg Murphy and Dan Bishop on Tuesday evening, and what you saw. And I'll let Doug jump in here too. But what you saw in Judiciary Committee this week. I mean, 2 days ago, the Judiciary Committee voted to take away American Second Amendment rights without them doing anything wrong, and they voted to allow that to happen in a court proceeding where the person who's losing their rights doesn't even get to show up and defend themselves. And then 2 days later, less than 24 hours later, we had the crazy scenario we had today where is it impeachment, is it not impeachment, is it an investigation, is it an inquiry? Jerry Nadler says he doesn't care, doesn't want to talk about it anymore. He just wants to go after the president. And we all know that's straightforward. And the reason they want to do this, I said this in committee today, the reason they want to change the rules in the middle of the game, 9 months into a new Congress, the reason they want to change the rules is nothing else has worked for them. Michael Cohen hearing was a flop for him. Came and lied 7 times under oath. The John Dean hearing was a flop for him. And you all watched, and the whole country watched, the Bob Mueller hearing. We all know that was a flop. So they got to come up with some way to go after this president, because they're bound and determined to do it, even though the country knows it's not warranted, even though they know we shouldn't do it, even though the country, every single poll says don't do it. They're bound and determined to do that, so they change the rules in the middle of the game. And understand the underlying issue here. The president was falsely accused of conspiring with a foreign state to influence the election. Jim Comey investigated for 10 months. After 10 months, he found nothing. You know why we know he found nothing? Because we deposed Mr. Comey, and he told us that in the deposition. But he still leaks information to get a special counsel. Bob Mueller's appointed for 22 months. He investigates, and what's he come back and say? No coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia to influence the election. 32 months, putting the country through this. And what do Democrats want to do? Change the rules so they can keep investigating and go after the president. It's ridiculous, it is wrong, and everyone in the country deep down understands that. Unfortunately, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee doesn't. What we should do is look at how the false accusations started. And the good news is, and thank the good Lord for this, Bill Barr is doing exactly that. But we can help on the committee. The ranking member understands this is a push for this. Why don't we have the Inspector General, who, oh, by the way, just issued a scathing report of Mr. Comey just 2 weeks ago. But 2 days ago, when I asked Mr. Nadler when we might expect an opportunity to question the Inspector General of the Justice Department, the guy who heads the Inspector General's Association in our government, Mr. Horowitz, when we might expect an opportunity to question him and ask him about his report, Jerry Nadler says, I don't know, I haven't thought about that. Stop and think about that. This is the chair of the Judiciary Committee, with its storied history in the House of Representatives of defending basic rules, basic procedure, and basic constitutional rights. And that's the response we get from him. So the minority leader is exactly right when he says, what a contrast between what Democrats have done this week and what we saw on election night with the big wins in North Carolina. And so I appreciate the leadership of the leader, and again, congratulate Dan, and I'll welcome to the podium the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Collins.
Well, it's been one of them days again on the Judiciary Committee. It's been one great week, though. Congratulations. It's all coming. We know what's happening. This is one of the things that we're seeing for those of us who travel the country, and those of us on stage did this for the last month, is once you got outside of Washington, D.C., it was not amazingly gloom and doom. Eeyore only lives in Washington, D.C. Everywhere else, there seems to be optimism. There's jobs. There's these kind of things happening, and people are excited about that. But let me touch base really on what happened this morning, which was a sad continuance of what has happened for the last 8 months since they had the ability to have the majority. We have continued down now today. if anybody could follow the pretzel logic of the committee this morning, especially the chairman, on saying, well, we're investigating, we've been investigating, is it an inquiry, it's not an inquiry. Let me make it very clear to you, and I know many of you have already written articles today, let me go back and say, if you say that any of this is new rules today, that's just wrong. Plain and simple, it's not new rules. These are rules that have been part of the committee structure forever. They're simply choosing to use them now, and they're packaging them together to make it seem like it's something more. This is important because when most people across the country only get their news by either a quick line, a quick headline, or a quick momentary look at the screen, they're not going to look past, and the Democrats know this, they know that they're not going to look past impeachment and everybody's going to think something's going. The reality is they're pulling a sham. I talked about it this morning. This is nothing more than a filter on a social media site, Instagram, Snapchat, whichever one you want to use. It's a filter to say, I look better than what I am. The problem is they don't look better. When you pull away the core of Chairman Nadler and the rest of his committee, there's nothing there. It's the biggest empty suit you want to have, and they won't admit that basically they have nothing to go on. In fact, if you don't believe me, let's just look at a history lesson. In June, Chairman Nadler and many of his cohorts said when the Robert Mueller report has definite impeachable offenses in it. Robert Mueller testifies in July. And then in August, my chairman sends out a letter to other committees saying, hey, you guys got anything to impeach on? Because we don't have anything anymore. So now, then you have Jamie Raskin from Maryland actually coming up and saying, Mueller was just a small part of what we investigated. How many of you in with a straight face in the press corps, y'all do great work. How many of you believe that they really thought Mueller was a small part of what they do? It was not. So today as we go forward, here's where we're at. They're wanting to have this idea that they can have it both ways, that they want to pacify those on our committee and their base, because I feel sorry for Chairman Nadler in this respect. He took the mantle of what they didn't know that they couldn't do, and that was impeachment. He took the mantle. If anybody could follow the pretzel logic of the committee this morning, especially the chairman, on saying, well, we're investigating, we've been investigating, is it an inquiry, it's not an inquiry. Let me make it very clear to you, and I know many of you have already written articles today, let me go back and say, if you say that any of this is new rules today, that's just wrong. Plain and simple, it's not new rules. These are rules that have been part of the committee structure forever. They're simply choosing to use them now, and they're packaging them together to make it seem like it's something more. This is important because when most people across the country only get their news by either a quick line, a quick headline, or a quick momentary look at the screen, they're not going to look past, and the Democrats know this, they know that they're not going to look past impeachment and everybody's going to think something's going. The reality is they're pulling a sham. I talked about it this morning. This is nothing more than a filter on a social media site, Instagram, Snapchat, whichever one you want to use. It's a filter to say, I look better than what I am. The problem is they don't look better. When you pull away the core of Chairman Nadler and the rest of his committee, there's nothing there. It's the biggest empty suit you want to have, and they won't admit that basically they have nothing to go on. In fact, if you don't believe me, let's just look at a history lesson. In June, Chairman Nadler and many of his cohorts said when the Robert Mueller report has definite impeachable offenses in it. Robert Mueller testifies in July. And then in August, my chairman sends out a letter to other committees saying, hey, you guys got anything to impeach on? Because we don't have anything anymore. So now, then you have Jamie Raskin from Maryland actually coming up and saying, Mueller was just a small part of what we investigated. How many of you in with a straight face in the press corps, y'all do great work. How many of you believe that they really thought Mueller was a small part of what they do? It was not. So today as we go forward, here's where we're at. They're wanting to have this idea that they can have it both ways, that they want to pacify those on our committee and their base, because I feel sorry for Chairman Nadler in this respect. He took the mantle of what they didn't know that they couldn't do, and that was impeachment. He took the mantle